Hey, it's your GM Wesley. Our adventurers get a lazy start back at Harrymore Keep. They spend a couple days resting to cure their exhaustion from last session, and Waffle enjoys having more or less free reign of the keep this time around, but manages to keep out of trouble. They make an attempt to say hello to Violet and finally meet her, but the charm effect still hasn't fully worn off, so they aren't able to quite yet. So the group heads back to Prigwort to resupply and figure out where they are going next. While at Prigwort, they run into two other adventurers and our two newest players, played by the in-laws. Gramatom Grimehump goes by Guam, the Mossling Hunter, played by Jamie, that's Waffles, real-life brother and my good friend Mike, and Juniper Jellybeans, that's the Jellybeans with an S, don't forget it, the Germalkin Thief, played by Mike's wife, and also my good friend, Amanda. Snoot and Waffle already have a couple rumors, so I roll a few for the two newcomers. The two true, or partially true, rumors are that a wizard has taken hideout in the caves near Fog Lake, and that an old renowned hunting league has a secret lodge somewhere in the woods near Prigwort. These, of course, are hooks for two dungeons, the Incandescent Grottos and the Hole in the Oak, both written by Gavin Norman. These dungeons aren't technically in Dolmenwood. They're just kind of generic OSE dungeons, but they kind of fit nicely into a couple of hexes, so it's pretty commonplace for Dolmenwood GMs to include them. The newly expanded party isn't quite sure what to do with these rumors for now, and formulate a tentative plan to travel back to Castle Everdusk to turn in that letter for Snoot's hopeful knighthood. And Guam and Juniper are tagging along as extra protection. It's a long and dangerous travel back to Everdusk. The four of them up on supplies, mostly paid for by Waffle, and head out towards their first stop, home of the Duke of Dolmenwood, seat of the Plurtine Church, Castle Brackenwold. Waffle and Juniper head over to Fool's Row, a plaza where entertainers of all kinds are able to put their trade on display. Waffle goes up front and gathers a small crowd to put on a small stand-up routine. The jokes are funny enough to hold a crowd and make some silver, but while the crowd is distracted, Juniper skulks around and steals some silver right out of the pockets of the same crowd. Quite the team already. Won't be a handful for me, I'm sure. Meanwhile, Snoot heads over to the Royal Institute of Psychics and Sorcerers and notices a wanted poster hung out front. Snoot grabs one of the posters and heads inside to inquire for information. He asks one of the professors / resident wizards about the poster and learns that one of the Institute members, or former members, Marjoram Gryver, and her husband were found guilty of being involved in a conspiracy to kill the Duke. Mr. Gryver was caught and is currently in custody in the dungeon, but Marjoram is still at large. Marjoram is wanted dead or alive, and yes, there is a reward for her return or her head. She was last seen headed west into Dolmenwood. Snoot brings this information back to the party, and their instinct is to find out the husband's side of the story. Maybe it's a setup? Juniper offers to switch into her cat form and sneak into the castle dungeon and have a chat with him. A pretty creative idea, actually. So Juniper heads over to the castle gate in cat form and spots 2d6 plus 6 guards at the castle gate. And yeah, that's not happening. So Juniper climbs one of the tallest trees she could find near the castle wall and tries to jump across, but the distance is just too large. She misses her jump and takes a little bit of fall damage. She returns to the group licking her wounds, and they begin discussing what to do next. And they end up deciding to go to Fog Lake and check out what's going on and, hopefully, try to find the court wizard as well. The party gears back up and heads back west, stopping at the Henchgate again. Sorry, I forgot to mention that the first time. The Henchgate is a gate at the edge of the Dolmenwood that's made of magical chatting tree faces. Kind of a weird gateway portal in and out of the woods. Anyway, they stop for another quick chat. The party seems to really like the talking trees here. The party heads over one more hex to 1307, takes rest at an old monastery to St. Key, converted to a refuge for travelers by the monks that still maintain it today. The next morning, the crew aims to head south to Fog Lake, but the terrain is too thick to bring their cart with them. Luckily, Juniper thinks quickly and realizes that she has the glamour disguise object, which he ends up using to make the cart look like a large pile of dung. Well, it's certainly going to work, and no one is going to want to touch that. So the party heads southwest one more hex to 1207, Fog Lake. Fog Lake is, well, a lake covered in a bluish white vapor, a fog, I guessed. While scoping the perimeter of the lake, they run into a Duncan Mud Merlot, a lanky human in his mid-30s who is a servant to a jolly Ostasis Pollard, if I'm saying that right, whoever that is. When the crew asks what he's up to, he simply says he's collecting crystals out of the lake for his master. The party asks if he knows of any caves going into or below the lake. He mentions there is one on the eastern side. And if the party is going down there and happens to find any crystals, that he or his master will buy them off them. Cool. Or gold. So the party heads over to the cave entrance, and Waffle scouts ahead since they're the only one with dark vision. They get to the bottom of the dungeon entrance and spots monkeys playing in the sand and a troglodyte skulking around. They've never seen this monster before, so they freak out and retreat back to inform the party. The group assesses they can probably take 1 or 2 troglodytes and head back down, only for the monster to patrol out to another room. So, problem avoided. They observe the monkeys for a little bit before heading east into a corridor filled with crystals all around. One of them notices a small hole cut into the side of the cave walls to give them vision into a chamber on the other side, revealing a group of kobolds kind of just hanging out. Snoot and Waffle confront the kobolds to distract them, while Guam and Juniper take pop shots from the shadows. 2 hits, 2 kobolds dead in an instant. The kobolds instantly surrender, and the party, to my surprise, feels bad about this. This may have some alignment implications for Waffle specifically, since they're supposed to be chaotic, but we'll worry about that down the line. They get some silver from the kobolds, as well as a scroll of hold person, and end up breaking their spears, so they are an eliminated threat. One of the party members mentions that they should hold on to this scroll for the wizard that they're looking for. It may come in handy, and it certainly will. The party continues east into a hallway with 5 doors, each with an engraving to a master of something. Master of ooze, master of disillusion, of slime, of gel, something. One of the signs has been eroded away, and then the 5th sign is actually missing. Juniper takes a peek into the room with the plaque Master of Disillusion to discover a bloated, wriggling corpse, and wisely decides to not disturb whatever is eating that corpse. The group moves down the hallway without interacting with any of the other Master of Rooms, and head up into a room with 2 jelly-covered skeletons just standing there. These skeletons are just some of my favorite throwaway NPCs I've ever seen in an adventure. Described as human-sized with blackened bones, but otherwise normal. They are coated in translucent jelly and are standing motionless, with an extra note that they are just really bored and easily tricked. It just cracks me up. Anyway, when the party steps foot into the room, the skeletons animate and their corrupted memories start coming back to them. The party asks what they're doing, and they explain how they are guarding their master's chambers behind them. Without missing a beat, Waffle steps forward and says, "Well, you guys have been doing a great job, but I need to go to my chambers." The skeletons have an audible sidebar. Do you remember what the master looks like? Are they always this short? And I mean, hey, look, the book literally says they're easily tricked, and the bit was funny, so I just let it slide. The skeletons just kind of hang out in the room and stop paying attention to the party as they continue east through the dungeon. This next U-shaped hallway has a slime in it that moves constantly, although relatively slowly, towards any movement in the room. Snoot opens one door and makes a bunch of noise to draw the attention of the slime towards him, while Waffle hurries down the other side of the U and heads into the master's quarters. But Waffle doesn't end up getting that far. They find a collection of strange cult-looking robes and decide that it's too dangerous to scout further ahead with the party separated. But Waffle does grab cult robes for the party and brings them back to share. It's a pity that they didn't end up putting one on, since the robes help with the slime situation. Party closes the door to the slime hallway and takes a few minutes to figure out what's next. No sign of the wizards so far, but they've only just begun exploring the dungeon. They ask the skeletons if they've seen any wizards around lately, and they say they haven't, but maybe they went downstairs, to which the party responds, downstairs? This is a larger dungeon than they anticipated. And that's where we let things off for now. It was a fun introduction for our 2 new players, and they picked up the vibes of the Dolmenwood system right away, which is great. They've played a lot of TTRPGs before, but nothing OSR, so, you know, you never know. We haven't really been able to play our next session yet. A lot of people just happen to be sick. Something's going around, so we're all still recovering. Now that we've had a handful of sessions under our belt and are starting to get in a good flow, I want to make not a review, I guess, but maybe like an early impressions for Dolmenwood. Something where I'm talking more about the system and setting rather than how our sessions have been going. I also have a few ideas for some other types of videos, but we'll get into that another time. Well, that's all for now. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.